When my best friend, Claire, seduced my fiancé and convinced his ultra-conservative, high-society family that I was a loose cannon who would ruin their political reputation, I didn't fight for him. I didn't send a single angry text or make any scenes. I just quietly moved to a different city and went completely silent. Claire thought she had successfully stolen a seat at the table of the country's most powerful family. What she didn't realize was that I wasn't the loose cannon at all. I was the only person who had been keeping the family's darkest secrets from leaking to the press for years. Without me there to manage the fires, Claire didn't just join a dynasty. She walked into a burning building and locked the door behind her. My name is Diana, and I work as a high-level crisis manager. My job is to make rich people's problems disappear before the newspapers or television stations ever hear about them. I handle scandals, cover up mistakes, and keep powerful families looking perfect to the outside world. I live a quiet, simple life in a small apartment and drive a silver Volvo, the ultimate invisible car that nobody ever notices or remembers. I dress in plain clothes and keep my voice soft. Being invisible is actually the most important part of my job. The less people notice me, the better I can do my work without drawing attention to the problems I'm fixing. Claire was my complete opposite in every possible way. We'd been friends since college, but we were like oil and water in terms of personality. She was a social climber who wanted to be the main character of every room she entered. She wore expensive clothes she couldn't really afford, went to exclusive parties, and constantly posted photos on social media showing off her glamorous life. She wanted fame, attention, and power. She didn't care how she got it or who she had to step on along the way. I should have seen the warning signs earlier, but I trusted her because we'd been friends for so long. The family involved in this story was the Ashford Sterling family. They were old money and high politics, the kind of family that had been powerful for generations. Everyone knew their name. My fiancé, Bennett, was being carefully groomed to run for a Senate seat in the next election. His mother, Victoria Ashford Sterling, was the family matriarch, a cold woman who valued discretion and appearances above absolutely everything else. She tolerated me as Bennett's fiancé because I was the only person who could handle his wild, spoiled siblings without making scenes or letting their scandals leak to the public. I was useful to her, even if she didn't particularly like me. Bennett and I had been engaged for 8 months when Claire started changing. She began showing up wherever Bennett and I went, always looking perfect, always saying the right things to his family. She volunteered to help plan charity events his mother organized. She complimented Victoria constantly, agreeing with everything the older woman said. I noticed but didn't think much of it at first. Claire had always been friendly and social. I thought she was just being supportive of my relationship. I was wrong. She was studying the family, learning what they valued, figuring out how to position herself as a better option than me. Claire spent 6 months executing her plan with careful precision. She started telling Bennett small lies about me, planting seeds of doubt in his mind. She'd mentioned that I seemed stressed, that I was acting strange, that maybe I wasn't ready for the pressure of being part of such an important family. She told Victoria that she'd overheard me complaining about the family's strict rules and traditional values. She suggested that I might be keeping a diary of family secrets, planning to write a tell-all book someday. None of it was true, but Claire knew exactly how to make people believe her. The breaking point came on a Friday night in November. Bennett had a bad day dealing with campaign stress, and Claire just happened to be there when he needed someone to talk to. I was working late, managing another crisis for his younger brother. By the time I got home, everything had changed. Bennett looked at me differently, with suspicion instead of love. Within a week, he'd completely pulled away from me emotionally. Claire had caught him in a vulnerable moment and convinced him that she understood his world better than I ever could. She promised she would never embarrass the family or cause problems. Victoria called me to her mansion on a cold Tuesday morning. I sat in her formal living room, surrounded by expensive furniture and family portraits that went back 200 years. She didn't offer me tea or try to soften the blow. "We need someone more loyal to the family image," she said, her voice flat and final. "Claire has informed us that you've been keeping detailed records of our private matters, possibly planning to sell them to the press. We simply cannot risk that kind of betrayal." We'll be taking back the engagement ring immediately. I handed over the ring without argument. Our mutual friends were completely neutral about the whole situation. They didn't hate me or take sides openly, but they were dazzled by the glamorous Ashford Sterling wedding invitations that started arriving in their mailboxes. Claire was planning what she called the wedding of the year, and everyone wanted to be part of it. They stayed quiet, watching from the sidelines as Claire prepared to marry into one of the most powerful families in the country. A few friends texted me asking if I was okay, but when I said I was fine, they seemed relieved and stopped asking questions. It was easier for them to just enjoy the spectacle. I didn't defend myself against any of Claire's accusations. I didn't try to prove my innocence or fight for Bennett or expose what Claire had done. Why would I? Because as the Ashford Sterling family's crisis manager for the past 3 years, I knew absolutely everything about them. I knew that Bennett's younger brother, Wesley, was a habitual gambler with massive debts to extremely dangerous people. I knew that Bennett's father was involved in a shady land zoning scandal that could send him to prison. I knew that the family's famous charity foundation was actually just a tax haven designed to hide money. I knew where all the bodies were buried. More importantly, I was the person who spent 24 hours a day keeping those secrets buried. I was the one who negotiated with Wesley's debt collectors, paying them off quietly to keep them from going public or getting violent. I was the one who buried the land zoning lawsuits by finding the right lawyers and making the right phone calls. I was the one who kept Bennett's father's mistress quiet with monthly payments and carefully worded agreements. I was the one who restructured the charity's finances to stay just barely on the right side of legal. Without me doing this constant, invisible work, the entire family would have collapsed years ago. When I left, I didn't just take my clothes and personal belongings. I took my services with me. I stopped making the phone calls. I stopped paying off the right people. I stopped managing the scandals before they became public. I moved to a quiet beach town 3 states away, rented a small cottage, and started working for different clients who actually appreciated what I did for them. I didn't warn the Ashford Sterling family about what would happen without me. I didn't tell Claire what she was really walking into. I just disappeared and waited for gravity to do its work. Claire's wedding to Bennett was held 6 months after my engagement ended. It was covered in every major magazine and newspaper. The ceremony took place at the family's historic estate, with 500 guests including senators, judges, and business leaders. Claire wore a designer dress that cost more than most people earn in a year. She looked absolutely beautiful in all the photos, smiling like she'd won the lottery. In a way, she thought she had. She'd gotten everything she wanted: the rich husband, the powerful family name, the mansions, the fame. She had no idea what was coming. The first crack appeared during the wedding reception itself. Wesley, Bennett's gambling addict brother, was approached by 2 large men in expensive suits. They weren't wedding guests. They were debt collectors who'd been held off by my monthly payments for the past 2 years. Those payments had stopped the day I left. The men walked right up to Wesley at his table and had a very loud, very public conversation about the $300,000 he owed them. Security tried to remove the men, but the damage was done. Guests had heard everything. Phones came out. Videos were recorded. Claire tried to handle it the way she'd seen me handle things, with charm and smooth talking. But she didn't know who to call or what to say. She didn't have the contacts I'd built over years of work. She didn't understand how to negotiate with dangerous people or how to keep stories out of the press. By Monday morning, gossip sites were running articles about the Ashford Sterling families, mob connections, and questioning where all their money really came from. Bennett was furious. Victoria blamed Claire for not controlling the situation better. Claire had no idea how to fix any of it. 3 weeks after the wedding, the land zoning scandal broke on the front page of the New York Times. A reporter I'd been carefully managing for years, keeping him happy with small stories in exchange for burying the big ones, finally published his investigation into Bennett's father's illegal dealings. The article detailed how the family had used political connections to change zoning laws, allowing them to develop protected land and make millions in profit. Federal investigators announced they were opening an official investigation. The family's lawyers scrambled, but without me coordinating their strategy, They were disorganized and ineffective. Claire called me for the first time since the wedding. Her voice was shaking, panicked in a way I'd never heard before. "Deanna, I don't know what to do," she said. "Everything is falling apart. There are reporters outside the house every day. Bennett's father might go to prison. Victoria is screaming at everyone. Bennett won't talk to me. Please, you have to tell me who to call to fix this." I sat on my cottage porch, watching the ocean waves, and considered my response carefully. The sunset was beautiful that evening, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. "I'm sorry, Claire," I said calmly, keeping my voice gentle and sympathetic. "You told Victoria and everyone else that I was a loose cannon and a liar who kept records to betray the family. If I help you now, I'd just be proving you were right about me all along. You wanted the crown and the power and the spotlight. Now you have to deal with the thorns that come with it." She started crying, begging me to reconsider, offering me money I didn't need. I ended the call politely and blocked her number. I'd given her my answer. The scandals kept coming like dominoes falling in slow motion. The mistress that Bennett's father had been seeing for 5 years went to a tabloid magazine and sold her story for a large sum of money. She had receipts, hotel records, and photos. The charity foundation was investigated by the IRS and found to be operating illegally, resulting in massive fines and criminal charges. Wesley's gambling debts became a news story when one of his creditors filed a lawsuit that became public record. Every week brought a new disaster, a new headline, a new problem that Claire had no idea how to solve. Bennett's carefully planned Senate campaign collapsed before it even officially started. His poll numbers dropped to single digits as scandal after scandal destroyed his reputation. Major donors pulled their support. The political party that had been grooming him for leadership quietly distanced themselves. He withdrew from the race, releasing a statement about focusing on family matters that fooled nobody. The stress of losing everything he'd worked toward his entire life changed him. He became angry, bitter, and unpredictable. He started drinking heavily and blaming Claire for not being able to fix the problems. I watched the family's complete downfall from my peaceful cottage by the ocean. I read the news articles, saw the embarrassing photos, followed the investigation updates. I didn't feel guilty or sad about any of it. I felt free for the first time in years. I'd spent so long carrying the weight of their secrets, working endless hours to protect people who didn't even respect me. Now that weight was gone. I worked with new clients who valued my skills, charged higher rates, and actually said thank you. I took walks on the beach every morning. I slept through the night without my phone ringing with emergencies. The Ashford-Sterling dynasty collapsed completely within 18 months of my departure. Bennett's father was convicted of fraud and corruption, serving a 3-year prison sentence. The family's wealth was tied up in legal fees, fines, and settlements. They had to sell the historic mansion and most of their properties to pay back taxes and penalties. Victoria moved to a small apartment, her social status destroyed. Wesley entered a treatment program for his gambling addiction after hitting rock bottom. The family name that had been powerful for generations became associated with scandal and crime instead of prestige. Claire stayed married to Bennett through all of it, but the life she lived was nothing like what she'd imagined. They moved to a modest house in the suburbs, funded by what little money remained after all the legal troubles. Bennett worked a normal office job, bitter about his lost political dreams. Claire, who'd wanted to be a political princess attending fancy galas and appearing in society magazines, found herself married to an angry man in a regular neighborhood. She'd gotten famous exactly like she wanted, but as the face of the biggest political scandal in a decade. Our mutual friends eventually reached out to me, amazed at how lucky I was to have gotten out of that relationship just in time. They acted like my escape was pure chance, a fortunate accident that saved me from disaster. I just smiled and agreed with them, never explaining that it wasn't luck at all. It was knowing exactly what holds a perfect life together, understanding which pieces are essential and which are just decoration. It was knowing that Claire didn't have the stomach for the dirty work, the endless phone calls, the moral flexibility required to keep that family's secrets buried. I'm still quiet and invisible, exactly like I've always been. I still drive my silver Volvo and wear plain clothes. But now I'm free from the Ashford-Sterling family's endless drama and impossible demands. I choose my clients carefully, work reasonable hours, and spend my weekends reading books on my porch instead of managing crises. Claire wanted my perfect life so badly that she was willing to lie and scheme to take it. What she didn't understand was that my life only looked perfect from the outside. The real perfection came after I walked away from everything she wanted. She got the crown, the mansion, the powerful family name. And I got peace, freedom, and the quiet satisfaction of watching her discover that some prizes aren't worth winning. Thank you for watching. Like, subscribe, and tell us what you think in the comments. Check out some more of our stories.